especially Allison DeLand. Allison, we're talking about you. Paging Allison DeLand. This is how committed Allison is to this industry. She's lost 2 relatives in the past week, and yet here she is today, getting us into this event and pulling us through, because that's what she loves about bourbon, that's what she means to our industry, and she's leaving here in a few minutes to drive to Canada to be to one of the funerals. But Allison, we love you. We're thinking of you. Thank you so much. And our chair, Jess Pendergrass, who maybe y'all know, she could not be here today. She wanted to send her regrets. Her grandfather passed away earlier this week at 95 years old, and the funeral is this morning. So we're thinking of Jess also in our thoughts and prayers. As you've heard me say many times before, the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame is my favorite event of the year. It's the one time when we all get together and celebrate our successes, cheer bourbon's heroes, and toast those who have gone by. It's like a family reunion every year. That unity, that spirit of collaboration and camaraderie is a hallmark of our industry and the foundation of everything we do at the Kentucky Distillers Association. So thank you all for your continued support and leadership, and most of all, thank you all for your friendship. Not only does it make our job easier at the KDA, as you hear me say a lot, we are all stronger by working together, so thank you. Now, speaking of support, please let me thank our sponsors for making today's event possible. The Brindiamo Group, the Bardstown Collection, Bardstown Nelson County Tourist and Convention Commission, Blue and Company, Busick Construction, Fred Minnick for our live stream efforts. Thank you, Fred. How many people we got online, Fred?
Right now, just 100 or so.
100 or so, pretty good. Log Still Distillery, of course, New Riff Distilling, Stedman Machine Company, and Vendome Copper and Brass Works. Please give them a hand and thank them for supporting us here today. And I got a couple more people to thank here, so bear with me, and please go ahead and eat your salads while I'm talking. Let me also pause here to recognize the men and women who respectfully and thoughtfully guide our industry by serving on the KDA's board of directors. As you can see by the slide here, our board is growing year after year, so I'm not going to read all their names, but please let me ask the KDA board of directors to stand, and if you're an honorary lifetime board member, to please stand. So KDA board, please stand. John and Bill, that's you too. Governor, that table's trouble. I'm telling you right now, right? You got Fred No and Bill Samuels and John and Rocky. All right, you're going to have fun. All right, okay. We also have in the audience members of the KDA's Leadership Academy, an immersive program to educate the next generation of leaders on the industry as a whole, its opportunities and challenges, and how the KDA plays a crucial and active role in its success. So if you're a member of the KDA Leadership Academy, please rise so we can thank you and congratulate you and welcome you to our industry again. Thank you. And we're fortunate today to have a number of students from Kentucky State University with us who are studying in the Fermentation and Distillation Sciences program, and under the completion of their certification will go into the spirits and hospitality industry. So Brianna Hodge, if you and your students would stand up so we can welcome you today. Wonderful. Thank y'all for coming. And now again, for one of my favorite parts of the program, today would not be possible without the dozens of legends and luminaries who have been enshrined in our Hall of Heroes. So if you are a member of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, please stand so we can say thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, great crowd today. Judge Summers, it's good to see you and Trina today. Now, for all the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame members, the ones here today and the ones we're inducting, please remember that after the ceremony ends, we need y'all all to come up to the stage here so we can get a group photo today, okay? I'll remind you again, but please remember that. After last year's beautiful and moving ceremony, we had several people ask how they could nominate somebody to the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. And that's really a good question because we actually have a change in the process this year. First, candidates are nominated each year by the KDA and our member distilleries. And then a blue ribbon committee of renowned Hall of Fame members and bourbon luminaries review those applications and select the inductees. This year's selection committee includes all living recipients of the Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award, and those are Jimmy Russell, Bill Samuels Jr., Max Shapira, and Evan Coolsvane, along with Jess Pendergrass, who's the chair of our board, Chris Morris from Brown-Forman, who's immediate past chair of the KDA board and governor of our Order of the Rit Society. Thank you, Chris. Noted author and 2004 member of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, Dixie Hibbs. Where's Dixie? There she is, Dixie. We love Dixie. I actually appointed Dixie in my place, the KDA president, because she's good at keeping Max and Bill and all them in line. So if you know Dixie, you know that's true. So thank you all. This process has been in place for several years, and I hope you'll agree that it's worked very well. It's worked so well, in fact, that we keep having record numbers of nominees and inductees each year, including 8 just last year. So 8 inductees is a lot, even though I tend to talk pretty fast, and we respect your time and your attention during this great ceremony. So the decision was made this year to induct from here and now on only up to 5 individuals each year in order to fully honor them and give them the recognition they deserve. So about that recognition, and this is what you'll see here today, one of the things we've also heard in the past 3 years is how beautiful and elegant the awards are for our inductees. We're proud again to commission renowned glassblowing artist Brooke Forrest White of Flame Run in Louisville. He's a protege of famed glassblower Stephen Raw Powell to craft unique and contemporary awards that incorporate bourbon-inspired motifs such as amber colors, oak, copper, and water. And just in case they weren't heavy enough, we have again included Kentucky limestone bases from Kentucky Cut Stone in Lancaster to reflect the importance of limestone filtered water in the bourbon making process. And I was reminded that Kentucky Cut Stone is the only woman-owned quarry in Kentucky. Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause. So the inductees, when y'all come up, be prepared. These things are heavy. And finally, for our new guests and anyone who hasn't been to the Hall of Fame in a while, here's a quick rundown of the program. I'm the NC and color commentator, and I pledge to do my best to wrap up by 2 p.m. at the very latest, maybe sooner. A reminder that in back there, the bar is open, okay? And there are some outstanding selections on the bar today from the careers and brands of our inductees. You're not going to want to miss this bar, trust me. Make sure you enjoy that, get a drink, and drink often, drink responsibly. As we put up the slide for each inductee, I'll ask someone to come up and formally introduce them. So now we traditionally invite someone who's not from their distillery or their company to do the introduction, and if possible, a current Hall of Fame member. That's not always possible, but just in case you're wondering today why somebody from Heaven Hill is introducing an inductee from Angel's Envy, it's tradition. It's that spirit of camaraderie and unity. It's not because we thought we were being cute for having a heavenly speaker introduce an Angel Envy. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm here all day. All right. We are fortunate today to again welcome Governor Andy Beshear to address us, who 2 years ago became the first sitting governor in Kentucky to ever attend a Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame event. And you might remember last year when he spoke at this time, he was in the middle of a re-election campaign, and when he was walking away, he said, I look forward to being here again next year to be the third governor, the governor who's doing this for 3 years in a row, speaking to y'all. So, Governor, we held you to that promise, and we're so glad that you'll be here today. You are a man of your word. A recipient of the KDA's prestigious 100 Proof Award for elected officials, Governor Beshear has long been one of our industry's strongest supporters, and we dearly thank him for his years of leadership and strong support, particularly when it comes to issues like tariffs, taxes, and tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and give a warm welcome to the 63rd Governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to Eric and the KDA for that introduction. I am really pleased to be here again this year as your governor and look forward to getting together for the next 3.5 years as I serve out every single day of this next term. I'm happy to be back, thank you to that one person. I'm happy to be back at Log Still with Wally Dant and his entire family. Let's again thank Wally for hosting us. I've had the opportunity, like I have with so many of you, to be at a groundbreaking that's become a new facility that's expanded, and if you're Wally, expanded again, and expanded again, and expanded again. Where we are today is such a good representation of where this industry is going with growth after growth after growth. And every time that we're here at Log Still, there is a new attraction, a new reason to come, and a new way to welcome visitors. There is no better way to celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month than with the great folks at the Kentucky Distillers Association and at this Hall of Fame ceremony. I think about the KDA and their impact in this growing industry in terms of jobs and the economy, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I want to once again thank the KDA and all the members here for being our largest single donor to our rebuilding efforts after tornadoes hit the west and after flooding hit the east. Thank you for being there for our Kentucky families. And I want to thank everyone and congratulate them at the KDA on its recent induction into the prestigious World Spirits Alliance. This industry is in good hands with the KDA representing Kentucky bourbon at the important International Trade Organization. Congratulations to the KDA. And we're also here on a special anniversary, a 25th anniversary of what's becoming a crowning achievement not only for this industry but for the Commonwealth. I'm talking, of course, about the 25th anniversary of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. More and more people are coming to see our new Kentucky home, and bourbon is a big reason why. Last year alone, this industry provided an incredible 2.55 million tours to Kentucky Bourbon Trail visitors from across the globe. Congratulations. You all know and you see that the Bourbon Trail, that great places to come like Dant Crossing are a huge driver of our surging tourism industry. 2 years ago, I got to stand with many of you in this room and say we had broken our all-time record for the impact of tourism on the Commonwealth. Until last year, when we got to stand together again at Castle and Key and announced that we had broken that record after 1 year. Last year was the best year on record in our history for tourism. What that meant was an impact of $13.8 billion and more than 95,200 jobs that support our families. Bourbon had a huge impact on that because, as you know, bourbon is America's native spirit. And during a time where Kentucky's economy is booming like never before, this industry continues to play a unique dual role in attracting investments while representing Kentucky to much of the world. I think I said this last year and probably the year before. When I was growing up, and you would meet somebody not from the United States, and you'd say, "I'm from Kentucky," what would they always say? Kentucky Fried Chicken. But now more and more people are saying bourbon. And what a great introduction of Kentucky to the world with its artistry and complexity, with all the different varieties. What you all do represents us so well and creates the type of introduction that when I travel abroad, having just been to South Korea and to Japan, people know and want to know more and more and more about the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Bourbon's rise to the very top of the global spirits trade has boosted sales, and it has made you ambassadors. That's why it was so important of our work with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo to remove harmful bourbon tariffs about 3.5 years ago. That ensures that you all have fair access to some of the world's biggest international markets, and at a time when there are threats and economic policies that are being put out there to bring back tariffs that the United States could potentially put on other countries, we have to know that this industry is again in that place where we need the type of representation, and I plan to step up regardless of who the next president is to make sure that this industry is treated fairly. You have my promise. I will represent you in Washington. Bourbon's success continues to benefit so many Kentucky families, and the momentum shows no sign of slowing. As you all know, we're in the midst of some of the biggest years ever for bourbon. 2022 wasn't just a good year for Kentucky bourbon and spirits, it was the very best year in history for growth. In that year, we saw over $2.1 billion of new investments, over $500 million more than the second closest year at that time. 2023 continued that amazing growth, and I'm so proud to welcome so many new members to the KDA in the last couple of years. This last year in February, we came together to announce 2023 saw the bourbon and spirit sector reaching $9 billion in annual impact, more than 23,100 Kentuckians employed, and an annual payroll of $2.2 billion. Just phenomenal, Eric. Each one of these metrics is a record. And it's a record that breaks a record from the year before. That's the type of growth we want to see all across Kentucky. I think about the last 4.5 years where we have seen more growth together in this industry than in any other period in our history. Since the start of my administration, we've welcomed more than 100 spirits-related new location and expansion projects, totaling about $4.3 billion of new private sector investment and creating more than 1,700 new full-time jobs. Bourbon also helps support and drive Kentucky's agriculture. Distillers here use more than 13.5 million bushels of Kentucky-grown corn every year. I'm proud, as we're here tonight, that in this last year, even up to now this year, we have seen that growth continue. In January, Staghorn opened a new independent distillery in Garrett County, $250 million investment, 60 new full-time jobs. In March, Bespoke and Spirits celebrated the grand opening of its new corporate headquarters in Lexington, a $3.2 million project, 16 new jobs. In July, I joined officials and leaders with Eastern Light Distilling to break ground, a $143.7 million investment in Moorhead, creating 50 full-time jobs. Last month, Lieutenant Governor Coleman joined local officials at the Jackson Purchase Distillery to cut the ribbon on its new $10 million rickhouse in Fulton County. And just a few weeks ago, Saga Spirits announced a $92.5 million tourist development project in Woodford County that's creating more than 80 new jobs. You continue to help our economic momentum push forward. We continue to have new opportunities out there in the bourbon sector, and it is exciting to be governor during what I think is the golden age of bourbon, where you continue to grow and to grow and to grow. And if I've missed any, I apologize, because there are so many bourbon announcements these days that they can be hard to keep track with. Kentucky's economy continues to be on fire, and we have this great industry, the KDA, and people like our Hall of Fame inductees today to thank. I think about Elmer Lucille Allen and her incredible contributions. Dee Ford, who I've known for over a decade, and her hard work in this area and across the state. My buddy Ken Lewis, New Riff Distilling, and its impact that it's had on northern Kentucky and bourbon on the whole. The late Peter Lofton. Today is an exciting day, I know, for him to be inducted, but also know it's probably a painful day for his family as well. I know we care about them and stand with them and are really proud they're here today representing their loved one. And of course, Corky Taylor, Henderson, Kentucky, and Peerless. What a special facility. What a great bourbon. Let's give them all a round of applause for their contributions. I'd close out today by saying we are in the midst of something special. You know, people are looking at Kentucky in a different way than they did 4 or 10 years ago. You are a big part of that. You know, we started talking about our new Kentucky home because suddenly we're at the top of all the lists we've wanted to be in, whether that's tourism or new business locations. Suddenly we are the first call that companies are making instead of the 4th, 5th, or 6th. We are on a roll the likes of which we have never seen, and we have to keep it going. I mean, since I've become governor, we've had over 1,000 new location and expansion projects, more than $32 billion of private sector investment, by far a record. We set a record for new jobs, a record for wages, a record for exports, a record for tourism. And while we're doing that, we're seeing positive things happen across our economy and across the experiences of our families. Our goal ought to be to keep this going as long as we can. What we are in is a window of opportunity, and you don't know how long that window is going to stay open. So what we've got to do is sprint forward as fast and as hard as we can to get as much of this opportunity here in Kentucky. Because as I'm now looking at a second term and being term limited, you know, I recognize that legacy isn't the letter behind your name or the number of this or that in the state legislature. It's how we leave our families. It's the impact that we make in their daily lives. It's how much and more opportunity we leave for our kids and for our grandkids. And right now, that is exactly what we're doing. Attracting good jobs, new jobs, jobs of the future, making sure our industries are sustainable, which customers are going to require in the future, regardless of the politics. And so I think it's so important in this time for this industry and the rest to recognize that success isn't red or blue. It's not Democrat or Republican, and most of the time it's the politics that can trip us up from securing, I think, our rightful role as a leading economy in the United States of America. So this is our special moment, and I hope you will not only help us continue to push forward, but help us continue to make good decisions. Help us continue to tamp down the noise that can sometimes get in the way. You know, I continue to be driven in my public service by my family and my faith that tells me that we're supposed to live that golden rule, that we love our neighbor as ourself, and the parable of the Good Samaritan that says that everyone is our neighbor. You know, when we live that out, we don't move a state to the right or the left. We just move it forward for everyone. And I think we all want a future where we're not picking a side every single day, where we're safe driving on our interstates or dropping our kids at school, where we can ultimately do good things that lift everyone up, because even if you disagree with your neighbor politically, you want them to do well. And more important than that, you want their kids to do really well. I think there is a better world in front of us, but we have got to keep pushing to get there. This industry makes us proud. You represent us well. In our times of need, you step up and you are incredibly generous. So thank you to all of the members of the Hall of Fame, but thank you to each and every one of the companies that are here, for the employees that you have, for putting food on the table, for caring about this Commonwealth and seeing that there is a future where Kentucky is an economic powerhouse, an economic leader. And thank you for helping us to do the work to get there. God bless.
Fantastic, Governor. Again, thank you so much for your support, not only in Kentucky, but in D.C. We know you have to leave because you've got important work of the Commonwealth to do, but you have a driver,
Yes,
right?
I do.
So we have a bottle.
Okay.
This is one of this year's Bardstown collection. These are special single barrels created for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival week here.
Thank you
so
very
we
much.
certainly appreciate all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next year.
Yes.
All right. You heard him. He said we'll see you next year. Thanks, Rocky. Good seeing you, sir. Well, one of the things that the governor mentioned, all those new distilleries coming, when I started at the KDA almost 18 years ago, we had 7 members. As of last week, we have 68 members. with 4 more in the queue. And we have 52 industry partner members, and many are in this room, and we thank y'all. So almost 120 members of the Kentucky Distillers Association now. And again, y'all worked so well together. We can't thank you enough for our support, but over 100 members. That's fantastic. Thank y'all so much. Yeah, sure. Clap at that. Yeah. All right. Before we introduce our class, we would like everybody to stand real quick for a moment of silence to honor one of our leaders who we've lost in the past year, and one day I'm sure we'll see again. Chet Zoeller, famed author, historian, and co-founder of Jefferson's Bourbon, passed away in May, just a few short months after he was inducted in this Hall of Fame, along with his son Trey. Chet was 83 years old. Let's pause for a moment of silence to remember Chet. Thank you. And is Trey here today? Is Trey here? Oh, there he is. Trey, our thoughts are with you and your family. Please, if there's anything we can ever do as an industry, anything else, let us know, please. Thank you so much for coming here today. And your dad, we love him. Thank you so much, Trey. All right. Okay, if you would, our master distillers come to the stage and bring your cut glass drink there with you. We're going to do something special real quick. Come on up, Fred. Any of our other master distillers, come on up. God, I'm out there. Oh, you're going to speak. Let me say something real quick, Fred. All right. Many of y'all may not know this, but today is the 70th anniversary of Jimmy Russell's years. He's celebrating, I can't talk today. He is celebrating 70 years at Wild Turkey today. Can you believe that? 70 years. That's most than many of us have been alive. So he couldn't make it here today. They're actually throwing a little party for him down in Lawrenceburg. But we ask his dear friend Fred No to come and lead us all in a toast to Jimmy Russell.
Thanks, Eric. Jimmy's a hell of a guy. I mean, I've had a lot of fun with him. When I took over for Dad traveling, Jimmy kind of took me under his wing, and he's kind of been like, damn, I get torn. Because, I saw him just a few weeks ago, and he said, if I make it a few more weeks, I'm going to be here 70 years. I said, hell, Jimmy, I ain't been alive 70 years. He said, oh, you'll get there. I said, no, I don't know if I'm going to be working for 70 years. But definitely when Eric asked me if I'd do the toast, I said, hell yeah, I'll do it. We'll make sure to keep it clean for you, Fred, so you don't have to put any beeps on there. But no, Jimmy's been a hell of a friend to my dad, to me, my whole family, actually. And when I was asked to do the toast, I said, sure, I'll be glad to. I mean, to a guy that I know everybody up here, he's been a friend to, a colleague, and what else can you say? I mean, he's a hell of a guy. And so everybody's got your glasses, the cut glass. This is a little bit of Russell's Reserve for Jimmy. I wish he was here with us, because he'd probably say, let's have 2. One's not enough. But to Jimmy Russell, our dear friend, cheers.
Cheers. Well said, Fred. Cheers.
Ah, boy. Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Yeah. That's just the first toast today. So we're big on toasts when all of our bourbon legends gather together. So there's a few more coming. Pace yourself. All right. It's now time to recognize 5 distinguished individuals who have made a significant and transformational impact on Kentucky bourbon's stature, growth, and awareness, and welcome them to our prestigious Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. If everyone's ready, all right, here we go. While this is my favorite day of the year, my second favorite day of the year is when I get to call people to let them know that they've been inducted. Some people think I'm joking and can't believe it. Some people have cried. We even had one person turn us down. True story. But I've never been humbled as much as my call to our first inductee, Lucille Allen. I called and she answered right away. And I said, ma'am, my name is Gregory. I'm president of the Kentucky Distillers Association. I have some good news. Do you have a minute to talk? And she said, no, sweetie, I'm busy shopping. You're going to have to call me back later. And I was like, wow. And of course I did call her back, and she couldn't have been more gracious and polite in accepting of this award. But that's when I fully realized in talking to her that first time that Lucille Allen is not just an artist or a pioneering activist or the first black chemist at Brown-Forman and possibly in the industry. Lucille Allen is a force of nature, and you're not going to get in her way. So please welcome Campbell Brown, chair of the board of directors at Brown-Forman, to introduce Elmer Lucille Allen, retired senior analytical chemist at Brown-Forman and pioneering activist. Thank you, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be back here again. Glad to see Trey here. Wally, again, thank you for hosting us. A beautiful facility. I hope the work is stopped and that we can just all go about our business and not have to continue with this arms race of creating beautiful, magnificent cathedrals for bourbon. This is really an unbelievable, probably the greatest drive in Kentucky coming out here every year. I just love it, and so thank you again for hosting us. But today we gather to celebrate an extraordinary individual, a trailblazer whose achievements have left an indelible mark not only in the field of chemistry, but also in the lives of countless individuals who have been inspired by her journey. Elmer Lucille Allen, born in August of 1933, or as I like to tease her, 8 months before the end of Prohibition. 93 years young. She stands as one of our industry's great testaments to the power of determination, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence. Lucille made history as the first African-American chemist at Brown-Forman in 1966, breaking barriers in a field that was and often still is today predominantly roles held by males and white people. Her groundbreaking work in the industry proved the way for future generations of scientists, particularly women and people of color. Lucille's tenacity and skill not only contributed to the success of our company, but also served as a beacon of hope and inspiration for those who followed in her footsteps. And I'm an example of that, believe it or not. In the summer of 1989, I got to do an internship at Brown-Forman in the lab. I don't think Lucille was my official boss at the time, but she was the one that took responsibility for me, and probably had the greatest impact in my experience getting to know a company that I've now been at for about 30 years. She was leading, I think, quality control at the time, and in hindsight, I was probably the single biggest threat to the quality objectives of the company at the time. I am not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. I was not very good at math. I'm still not very good at math. And the basic skill sets required to be excellent at this, patience, curiosity, attention to detail, and accurate and an acute appreciation for observation were not characteristics that were often observed in myself. But Lucille took interest, and every week, every day, I would come into the lab and I would have a set of responsibilities to go do, and she would make sure that I checked and double-checked and triple-checked them, and there I did, and I loved it. And it was one of the great experiences of my life, and really connected me to the business and to the production side of our business that I'd really didn't think I was ever going to get. I was a sales and marketing guy. But, and beyond her remarkable achievements in chemistry, Lucille is also an accomplished artist. Her talents extend well beyond the laboratory. Through art, she has expressed her experiences, emotions, and cultural heritage, further enriching the communities around her. Lucille has received numerous awards and recognition, each a reflection of her unwavering commitment to her work and her community. She has been honored by various organizations for her contributions to science, the arts, mentoring, and her activity for diversity and inclusion. But perhaps the most profound aspect of Lucille's legacy is the way she has positively impacted those around her as a mentor. She has opened doors for young women, guided them in their careers, and encouraged them to pursue their dreams. Her dedication to uplifting others has fostered a sense of community and empowerment, proving that success is not just about personal achievement, but also about lifting others as you rise. A tradition we've enjoyed at Brown-Forman is getting to host Lucille and her family every year in August around her birthday, and she delights us with stories. She's often comes whisking in and whisking out because she's already been to 2 or 3 different activities, and it's just an amazing agenda that she keeps, one that's probably closer to the governors than anybody else sitting in this room. It's an amazing whirlwind of an activity. But in closing, let us honor Lucille, Miss Lucille, not only for her impressive accomplishments as a chemist and a trailblazer in our cherished bourbon industry, but for the profound impact she has had on the lives of many. Her legacy is a powerful reminder that with hard work, passion, and a commitment to uplifting others, we can create a world where everyone has the opportunity to shine. Thank you, Lucille, for your remarkable contributions and for being a true inspiration for all of us. Miss Lucille, welcome to the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame.
Well done.
Thank you.
We're going to stand up here and get a picture.
Okay.
And we'll probably need to help her hold this.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go here? Do you want us here or over here? Can I help you hold this? Here, let's get a picture real quick. Okay. Come on, camera. I'll hold it too. All right. Ready to go? Yep. Oh, you got me? Okay.
Those are the important ones.
Those are the important ones right there. Okay. All right.
First of all, I would say thank you. This is a beautiful afternoon, and to realize in 1966 or 67, I never realized that I would receive an award for being a chemist at Brown-Forman. And I thank Campbell for what he talked about today. Sometimes you forget what you do for people, but I can say I am who I am today because I worked at Brown-Forman for almost 30 years. And when I retired in 1997, I went back to school and I got a master's in University of Louisville in fiber and in ceramics. And would you believe it? I'm still taking ceramics today, and I'm 93 years old. It is important. I don't think I would be standing here today if I was working in a community as it is now. Because to me, friendship begins at the workplace. Because you come in every day, and I do not think I would survive in this working from home. Because I like seeing people. I like talking. And I also think that you have to give of yourself more than you actually take. And to be here today and to be in this facility, it's just simply beautiful. And I would just like to thank everyone who is here today, and especially my son and my daughter, my daughter's here from Florida to be with me. And just all I would like to say, I owe Brown-Forman everything that I do. And at 93 years old, I'm able to walk, to talk. And when I went to Brown-Forman, everything was done by hand. And that's where I learned how to use computers. I learned how to use Apple Shop and all this stuff. And I would just like to say thank you so very much for honoring me today as one of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame members. Thank you so very much.
I'm going to help you down. for a minute. Oh, one incredible lady. All right, it's only fitting that our next inductee is being honored in the same year that we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the KDA's Kentucky Bourbon Trail program, because without Dee Ford, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail would not be the global bucket list experience that it is today. Dee has chaired our Bourbon Trail Advisory Panel for all of one of the last 13 years, elevating our Amber venture and earning the respect of her peers worldwide. So now please welcome one of those peers, Jeff Crow, Director of Kentucky Experiences with Heaven Hill Brands, to introduce Dee Ford, Brand Home General Manager, Angel's Envy Distillery.
I am here on behalf of Jess Pendergrass, which is the chair of the board for KDA. As you know, her grandfather passed, and so I'm the last-minute fill-in, Dee. So I'm sorry if I cheat you, but I'm going to do my very best to make sure that you are well represented. Distinguished guests and Kentucky bourbon enthusiasts, it is with immense pride that I stand before you today to induct a truly remarkable individual into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, my friend, Miss Dee Ford. While I am here as a representative of Heaven Hill, it is an honor to speak on behalf of my friend and colleague from Angel's Envy, because that's what we do in Kentucky. We support each other. So when I found out I was going to announce this award and get to be Dee's inductor, she probably was like, oh gosh, what's coming? I had someone physically look at me and say, why would you ever put a visitor center employee in the Hall of Fame? Well, let me tell you why. First of all, we don't call them centers anymore. A center is just a big old building. We call them experiences or home places. And why do we do that? Because people like Dee Ford have put her heart and soul into what they bring to the guests. So that was an easy answer for me. But I'm going to read to you this long list of amazing things that makes this amazing woman invaluable to what I do on a daily basis. Dee's achievements have profoundly shaped the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and have helped to make it the globally renowned legacy pilgrimage that over 2.5 million visitors come to experience every year. Dee's journey in the Kentucky bourbon industry is a testament to her passion, her collaboration, and her vision. Her degrees from the University of Louisville and Washington School of Protocol laid a strong foundation for a career punctuated by excellence in hospitality and Kentucky bourbon tourism. Dee, I'm not going to tell your age. I'm not going to tell your age. Dee began her career in hospitality at Lily's Bistro in Louisville, working for 7-time James Beard Award-nominated chef Kathy Carey. This initial experience ignited her love for our very own industry and set the stage for her future success. For more than 2 decades, Dee held pivotal roles in the Kentucky bourbon industry that led to her distinguished career. She began in 2004, you all do the math, she began in 2004 through 2011 as a corporate food service manager at Brown-Forman. then advanced into managing home place operations at Woodford Reserve from 2011 to 2016. She has been the brand home manager at Angels Envy ever since, showcasing her expertise and commitment to enhancing the overall bourbon experience. Within the industry, she has served years as the chair of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail Advisory Group and significantly influenced bourbon tourism. Dee was previously co-lead of the Women's Employment Resource Group, or GROW, at Brown-Forman, and is also an active member of Bacardi's Women in Leadership Initiative that helps to lead and mentor other women within this industry. A proud Louisville native, Dee's contributions extend beyond her professional life. She works with the broader community through the Louisville Downtown Partnership and the Franciscan Center Soup Kitchen. 33 years ago, Dee married Marty Ford, and she is a devoted mother to Will and Aaron, and a doting grandmother to her one-year-old granddaughter, Elsie. Dee and I became grandparents within a couple weeks of each other. She's just much older than I am. Dee's Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame induction today is certainly not her first recognition, or probably won't be her last or her last applause. Her prior accolades speaks volumes about her impact on the industry and legendary tourism programs the industry has developed across the Commonwealth. In 2016, Dee was named by Whiskey Magazine as America's Visitor Attraction Manager of the Year while at Woodford Reserve, and then was named the Global Visitor Attraction Manager of the Year in 2024 with Angels Envy. She was also inducted into the KDA's Order of the Writ in 2023. Dee's colleagues and industry peers, including myself, hold her in the highest regard. What sets Dee apart is her visionary leadership and her exceptional brand storytelling skills. At Angels Envy, Dee has created an environment that is the envy, get it? Eric's not the only one with jokes, of many. Her approach to leadership embodies empathy, passion, kindness, and adaptability, helping her team to feel heard and to feel valued at all times. She helps people to be assured they are recognized and allows them to show up authentically in the work that they do. Dee embraces change as an opportunity for growth and continuously seeks new ways to evolve and grow. Dee's team describes her as their North Star, and she ingrains in her team the importance of keeping the consumer at heart in all that they do. As one of her team expressed, we would not be where we are today without Dee's contagious energy, her relentless drive, and passion for elevating those around her. At KDA and across the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, Dee is seen as one of the most respected people in the industry, especially among the visitor center managers. Oh, let me fix that. Visitor experience managers. She always thinks about what will elevate the industry as a whole and not just her home place or her brand. Dee sits at the table with me on a lot of boards and committees, and she never speaks just on behalf of Angels Envy. She thinks about all of us and how it impacts everybody in this room. Dee Ford exemplifies the very best of the Kentucky bourbon industry. Her kindness, her dedication, her big heart, and unwavering commitment to excellence makes her a true icon. It is with great pride and admiration that I welcome Miss Dee Ford for induction into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Dee. I think you're all of our North Stars. Thank you.
Stay here for a picture.
Thank you. You're so cute. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I'm going to hold this thing.
All right. I will put it over here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Jeff, for a very, very kind introduction and for stepping up in Jessen's absence. Very appreciated. You stole some of my talking points, but that's okay. But we're lucky to have you, Jeff, and grateful to have you as a partner, so thank you. I also wanted to reference something about Jess. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today as previously planned, but her leadership and influence is truly remarkable, and we're really fortunate to have her as our chair. It's particularly inspiring that she is only the third woman to hold the position of KDA chair since 1880. And her dedication really continues to pave the way for future generations. I would also like to, I was able to talk to some of the other inductees, but I want to extend my personal congratulations to Corky, Ken, Peter's family and coworkers, and Elmer Lucille Allen. We missed each other a couple years at Brown-Forman. You left in '97 and I came in 2004. You've won so many awards lately. You're so inspiring. Your barrier-breaking achievements are just truly amazing, so congratulations. I want to talk a little bit about hospitality. Hospitality has been the focus of my career, and I want to share a personal story that has set me on a journey into the world of hospitality. When I was 14 years old, I really wanted a job. I don't know why, but I was very eager to go out and get a job. And as luck would have it, I landed a job washing dishes for a neighbor. Little did I know this neighbor was Camille Glenn, a renowned food writer for the Louisville Courier-Journal, a cookbook author, and a former caterer. At this time, I had no idea I was in the presence of a true culinary icon. Mrs. Glenn did more than give me a job. She invited me into her kitchen, encouraging me to cook alongside her. She instilled confidence in me, noting my natural coordination, those were her words, and suggesting that someone in my family must have been a cook. I remember watching her take 2 full days to prepare a velvety wild rice and braised short rib bisque, teaching me the value of patience, listening, and the joy of what comes from creating something truly special. In those moments, she planted in me the seed of understanding the profound power of hospitality. I also had the privilege of working with Kathy Carey, as Jeff mentioned, another culinary icon who unfortunately could not be with us today. Kathy was the owner and executive chef of Louisville's legendary Lily's Bistro and La Pêche Gourmet to Go in catering, and a 7-time James Beard nominee. Kathy's deep commitment to the farm-to-table movement, which was very early in the process, she was one of the early people to really push this movement, and her unwavering work ethic has always been a source of inspiration for me. Kathy instilled in me her relentless pursuit of culinary excellence and her deep passion for creating a memorable experience for guests, always with the utmost care and attention. We catered countless parties together. Each one was a remarkable experience with her. Again, my passion has always been rooted in the power of hospitality, and as New York restaurateur Danny Meyer wisely says, service is the delivery of a product. Hospitality is how the delivery of that product makes its recipient feel. So what is hospitality? For me, it's about recognizing the profound impact we have on others and embracing our actions with generosity. It's both that simple and that complex. True hospitality stems from an others-centered mindset, constantly asking ourselves, how is what we are offering being received? Throughout my career, from culinary experiences to the bourbon industry, my passion has been guiding my team to prioritize creative, thoughtful experiences. Each one of us has the opportunity to share our best practices, and by doing so, we can continue to leverage hospitality to elevate Kentucky bourbon for all of our visitors. We've been talking about celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and I'm reminded of its origins and the purpose that has driven it from the start. The Bourbon Trail was created to showcase the art and science of the world's finest bourbon while sharing Kentucky's rich history and heritage, making it clear why Kentucky is the birthplace of bourbon. When the trail began in 1999, we had 7 founding members. Angel's Envy became the 10th stop in 2017, and today we have 48 and many more on the way. What began as a simple visit has transformed into a bucket list experience, Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to take a few moments to share four significant experiences that have shaped my journey in the industry. Chairing the Kentucky Bourbon Trail Advisory Committee. Serving as chairperson of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail Advisory Committee for the past decade has been extremely exciting and rewarding. Leading Kentucky Bourbon Distillery brand experience leaders, did I say that right, Jeff? Through various initiatives, government recommendations, marketing strategies, COVID adaptations, and the rebranding of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail logo, updating our website for a bold new look, have been an incredible journey. And think about this, the idea of combining the Kentucky Bourbon Trail with the Kentucky Bourbon Craft Trail into one program came out from looking from a visitor experience mindset. It's not necessarily what we think, it's what the consumers want. We always knew we would get that call from Eric, who always asked us before each legislative session, what do y'all need? We've seen incredible progress, including the ability to sell cocktails, exclusive bottles, direct sales from gift shops, shipping to reciprocal states, just to name a few. These changes have significantly enhanced the visitor experience across the state of Kentucky and beyond. Advancing women in bourbon. As a foundational leader in building the strategy for Brown-Forman's Women's Employee Resource Group, I was part of a team that tackled a significant challenge posed by our CEO. Why aren't women progressing through the company's pipeline? Alongside my co-lead, we embarked on a deep dive to uncover the reasons and present our findings to senior leadership. This work laid the groundwork for driving meaningful changes within the company. Transforming the Woodford Reserve home place. As the Woodford Reserve home place manager back when I started in 2011, I had the privilege of turning Brown-Forman's existing bourbon home place into a fully branded Woodford Reserve experience. This transformation including updating the experiential areas, retail offerings, and relaunching the Culinary Chef in Residence program to fully integrate the Woodford Reserve brand look and feel. And then lastly, opening the Angel's Envy brand home. Leading the opening of that brand home in downtown Louisville in 2016, the first fully operational distillery experience on Main Street since Prohibition, was one of the most rewarding experiences for me. And we quickly realized the consumer demand for Angel's Envy was enormous, leading to an expansion of an additional 13,000 square feet, which opened in June of 2022. This project successfully positioned Angel's Envy as a leader in the experiential bourbon tourism market. So to my culinary mentors, Camille Glenn and Kathy Carey, I'm eternally grateful for the seeds you planted in me and the time that they both invested in me, guiding me to understand the true power of hospitality and its impact on people's lives, a foundation in my journey within the bourbon industry. In closing, I am deeply grateful to many people who have supported me throughout my journey. To my husband, Marty Ford, my rock and chief of staff, thank you for your unwavering support. To my children, Will Ford and his wife, Abby Ford, Erin Ford and her fiance, Jared Waters, thank you for your love and encouragement. Sharon Mead and Marty Tishner, my personal board of directors. Over the years, thank you for your wisdom and guidance, and thank you, Marty. Once again, to remind you all the time for hiring me back in 2004. To my manager, mentor, and inspiring leader, Gigi Dadan, thank you for guiding me with your invaluable wisdom and unwavering encouragement. You are truly remarkable. To my fellow Angel's Envy team that flew in from all over, that are here with me today, Lori Mattingly, Maria Dow, Laura Monroe, Stephen Ditzberry, Bethany Persons, Angel Tetta, and Damian Gallagher, I'm really proud to work with the best team ever. Thank you for being here today. And my gratitude would not be complete without thanking the KDA team. I work with this team a lot. Colleen, Mandy, Allison, Adam, Sarah, Marielle, Annie, Jack, and of course our passionate leader, Eric. This team kills it. They are so passionate about what they do. We've been on benchmarking trips together. They push the boundaries for all of us. You guys are incredible, and I'm so proud to know all of you all. There's a quote that holds a special meaning for me by Katharine Graham, the former editor of the Washington Post. To love what you do and feel that it matters, what could be more fun? I'm truly thankful for this recognition and for the privilege of being a part of the bourbon industry. Cheers.
Yep. Take your Woo! Yeah. It's the year of D. Congratulations again, Dee, and thank you, Jeff, for that great introduction. There's somebody special in our audience today that we'd like to recognize, a special guest of the KDA, Margie Lehrman, who's CEO of the American Craft Spirits Association, a great partner association of ours who does so much wonderful work for our craft members across the country and in Washington, D.C. Thank you for your leadership and your partnership, and we're so glad you could join us here today. Thank you. Though our next inductee is no longer with us, his legacy lives on in one of the most innovative distilleries in the country. Pete Lofton's vision for the Bardstown Bourbon Company revolutionized contract distilling into a chef's kitchen of customized brands through its collaborative distilling program. And it stayed on the cutting edge by being one of the leading distilleries that take advantage of new legislative privileges like on-site restaurants and bars, vintage spirits, and now even a satellite tasting room in downtown Louisville. Please welcome Steve Nalley, Master Distiller of the Bardstown Bourbon Company and a 2007 Hall of Fame inductee, and Mark Erwin, CEO of Bardstown Bourbon Company, to introduce Peter T. Lofton, founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, everybody, for being here. On behalf of Peter, he's a true visionary. Before I ever met him, I talked to him several times on the phone, and he's just as big a man in person as he was on the phone. He came up with the idea of custom production, as he put it, transparent custom production, and he said I guess you would say the transparent production, the Napa Valley style experience. So what he wanted to do was let the consumer have a transparent vision of what was going on in the still house with the product. And to get into that a little more, when we do a tour at the distillery, you go into it from the very start. You go in, you see product, the visions or the television screens up. You get a view of what's going on in the distillery. You go in and you get a taste of the product from the get-go. You go into the still house, you see glass in the cooker, glass in the still. You see recipes up on the board that who we're making for. You get a true transparent vision of what's going on in the facility. So you're transparent all the way through. That was his vision of transparency with the product, with what's being displayed, what's going on. That's what the consumer was really wanting to see, wanting to find out. When you get outside, we've got a warehouse that's totally glass. One side of it's totally glass, so you see the ricks, you see the barrels in the ricks. You go in the warehouse, you get the thieved product out of the barrel, so you get an in-depth feeling of the product while it's aging. You get a connection with the product, with everything that's going on while you're there. You come back and you can have cocktail classes. You can see a vintage room that's got product that's 1890 in there all the way up to modern day. So he wanted to connect the consumer with the product all the way through, from the start all the way to reality, to today. And then on the other side, custom production. He wanted to not make a vodka or gin or something like that to see us through, to get us by until we could have a product of our own. He wanted to do custom production for either non-producers or somebody that had small facility that could not produce enough for themselves. So we were producing product for ourselves and custom producing for other companies. So from the day one, even while we were building the distillery, we started at 1.5 million proof gallons. Before we even started the still up in 2016, we had enough customers sign up that we started up at that capacity. Within less than a year, we had enough demand that we had double production. Well, another year later, we had double again. So we kept doubling and doubling, just growing as fast as we could. And all of it just kept going. And it was just like a freight train, just kept running and running. Well, the demand kept growing like that. And we got to growing so fast that it was almost like we were growing too fast, that management had a hard time keeping up with it. So Peter was seeing this running out of bounds, and he saw they needed to correct that. So he changed that, and he hired on different management group that controlled that and got back in course. And that management has continued the growth, and that is led by our present management, which is Mark Erwin, our CEO now, that has kept that growing to the steady pace that we are growing today. So I want to let Mark continue the story of Peter's path that has led us up to today's path that we're on now, and tell you a little bit more about Peter's path that is really keeping us growing to what we are today.
Okay, a lot of folks don't know the background of Peter Lofton. Peter was a North Carolina boy. He's brought into Kentucky. Pete he was a serial entrepreneur. He grew right out of college. A couple years after school, he started a company called BTI in North Carolina. It grew into one of the 7th largest telecom communications companies in the U.S. He was a giving individual who did all kinds of things in Raleigh. He was North Carolina Entrepreneur of the Year. He gave to the public arts. He helped a big military supporter. He actually was one of the key starters of a special operations and airborne museum in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He was truly a giving guy as a young man who was making a lot of money. He ended up selling that business at BTI, coming out of that, moving to Florida, and he opened the Versace Mansion as a club. He turned it into a club. Many of you know the story of the Versace Mansion in Miami. Pete turned that into a club. I'll say everything I've heard about it, there was a lot of fun going on, but there wasn't a lot of money making going on. So eventually that ended, and Pete bought $2 million worth of whiskey as a commodity investment out of MGP in Indiana. It's good whiskey. They do make good whiskey up there at MGP too, so many of us have used it before. But that was strictly as an investment. He saw what a great investment it was, and he said, why isn't someone doing this in Kentucky? So that's when he hired Steve Nalley and David Mandel, who many of you know, to come get this amazing facility started. And as Steve said, the core piece was helping others bring their products to the market and doing that custom distillation for others. It was, truly something, a game changer in the industry. A few of these brands have actually grown up in our distillery, started in our distillery, and sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's the kind of thing that this business created with Pete's idea and what he brought to the market here. I'll tell you about Pete's passion real quickly. So the last voicemail I got from Pete, it was actually 9 days before he passed away. Pete called me a lot, gave me a lot of guidance. Pete brought me out about 5 years ago to come grow the company, and he was actually over at Heaven Hill. He was over at Heaven Hill, and Heaven Hill was making their $17 million hospitality investment, and Pete was coaching me. All right, Mark, I'm over here at Heaven Hill. They're doing this investment. I'm going over to Willett next to see what they got going on. Look, we started this thing. We got to finish it. That was the way he thought about things. He was passionate about customer experience. He was passionate about our business. And his mission to us was to grow an internationally recognized brand. And that's what we're on the path of. We're not there yet, but we've now got 2 brands that are growing, and we've got Pete's mission, and we're carrying it on every day. We've got 2 tables worth of folks here who knew Pete back in the day. I know a lot of people here didn't know him. We are proud to represent him. Our entire company lives with the passion that Pete put in us early. All of our tours go by and see Pete on the wall every day, and we're real proud to speak about Pete. And with that, I'll just tell you, thanks for everyone who helped make this happen. I am honored to be here today on behalf of Pete, but I want to bring up his 2 sons who are even more honored to be here on behalf of Pete, and let Jagger say a quick word, and then happy to have them representing their dad. So Jagger, Jett, if you'll come on up, please.
Mark, you want to go over here? You want to go over here? We can do this. Here, we need to get a photo. Oh, okay. Come on, Mark.
I'm extremely grateful to be here today representing my father, and I'm extremely thankful for him getting the recognition he deserved in the bourbon industry. Growing up, it was extremely evident how passionate he was with bourbon and the industry. He would often be reading books years before the distillery and just talking about how much he wanted to get into it. And then one day I came home and he was like, "Son, come here. I want to show you what we're doing up in Kentucky." He showed me the pictures of the distillery, and my Lord, he was proud of it. He loved it. And I'm so thankful for the team at the Bardstown Bourbon Company and everything they do every day to build upon his legacy. And I'm so thankful for the Hall of Fame for having him. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Mark, and congratulations again to Jett and Jagger. Thank you. Real quick before the next inductee, we're excited to invite you to a new event in honor of Bourbon Heritage Month. This is the first time we've ever done this. It's a way you can celebrate Kentucky bourbon wherever you are. So next Tuesday, September 17th, you're cordially invited to join bourbon industry notables and bourbon lovers around the globe for the first ever worldwide toast to Kentucky bourbon. We're going to flood social media all day with toasts just for Kentucky bourbon, so post your toast. There will also be the live online toast starting at 4 o'clock in every time zone across the world. There has never been a bourbon event like this before, and trust me, it's going to be epic. So you can get all the details at worldbourbontoast.com, or you can check in with Katie Penninger. Katie, where are you? Sam, there's Katie. Katie's with Lewis, our partner agency that has done all of the brand transformation to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, has done a fantastic job, Lewis, with Katie. Lewis, thank y'all so much for what you do. See Katie in the back if you want to learn more about this or even participate in the Worldwide Bourbon Toast. So, next week. All right, it's when our next inductee called and said he would like me to actually introduce him. It was an honor, a true honor. An All-American golfer, Hawaii, General George Patton, Al Gore and the Allman Brothers, the Palmer House Hotel, and Peerless Distillery. Now, I'm not just throwing out a bunch of random words to get y'all's attention. Everything I mentioned ties together because of one person in this room. Our next honoree, Roy M. Taylor, affectionately known by all of us as Corky. You'll go out to see Corky at Peerless and ask him about the stories behind all those people and places, and trust me, there are great stories about all those people and places. But today, he is rightfully welcome into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, and I want to focus on two things. First, Corky, the generational bourbon legend, and second, Corky, the gentleman who inspires us all. Let's start with bourbon and Corky's work resurrecting Peerless Distillery. Originally founded by his great-grandfather, Henry Craver, Peerless Distillery shut down during Prohibition. For a few generations, the distillery was just a story told at family reunions. But after a successful career in finance, Corky couldn't just sit on the beach in Sarasota. It seems the retirement was the one thing Corky was bad at. No, he decided to fulfill a lifelong dream and bring back Peerless. And as we all know, he did it well. Leaning on the traditions and drive for excellence that have been passed down in his family for generations, Corky dove in head first. We all know Corky has an impeccable business sense, but he was also humble enough to know that he had to go see the experts if he wanted to do bourbon right. So Corky turned to many of us in this room asking for advice, tips, and support, and he quickly proved that he belonged in our Kentucky bourbon family. Since seeing his son Carson reopen Peerless, it has won numerous global awards, helping elevate Kentucky bourbon as a category year after year. And folks, he is not done yet. They've expanded with a warehouse in Henry County and have many new award-winning brand expressions coming out. Dreams for the future of Kentucky bourbon under Corky Taylor's tutelage are endless. Now, let me talk about Corky as a person. And to do that, I've got to pay homage to Henderson, Kentucky. All right, there you go. If you're from Henderson, you know what this means. If you're not, I'll explain here in a minute. This is the 42420, the zip code of Henderson, Kentucky. And while we're here to celebrate Corky's contributions to the bourbon industry, I would be remiss not to celebrate who Corky is as a person. Because who he is as a person is what makes him so good at what he does with bourbon. Corky and his family are from Henderson, Kentucky, a little river town in the cornfields and coal fields of western Kentucky, where my family also hails from. My dad used to have a saying, boy, if so-and-so says jump, you better ask how high. And these names may not mean much to y'all, but I'll tell you in Henderson, if Bill Deep says jump, you better say how high. If Walt Deere says jump, if Bill Latta says jump, you better say how high. But the name I heard the most, boy, if Corky Taylor says jump, you better say how high. Because to many of us, Corky Taylor was Henderson. He was an incredibly successful businessman, and his fingerprints were all over the city. You could go downtown and have lunch at Corkscrew's Deli, and then that night you could go up to Taylor Junction up on 41 and have one of the best steaks you'll ever have. From business in Henderson to his failed retirement in Sarasota to a thriving Kentucky bourbon business, Corky never changed who he was. He comes from a family that knows the benefits of hard work, and Corky set out to work even harder. He benefited from elders who poured into him and mentored him as he started a financial business, and he never stopped paying it forward. And perhaps most inspiring of all, triumph after triumph, Corky never got too big for those around him, making everyone he meets feel special. Take, for example, what his beloved team at Peerless wrote in a letter of support to go along with his Hall of Fame nomination. You are likely to not only see Corky at the distillery during any given visit, but you'll have a heartfelt conversation with him and leave as a new family member. Corky Taylor embodies the beauty of bourbon culture here in Kentucky. Now, Corky may not know everything about the people he meets each day, but he knows the most important thing. They're there to experience Kentucky bourbon culture, and the best way to do that is truly welcome them to our family. Well, Corky, we're incredibly blessed and thankful that you joined our Kentucky bourbon family, and now it's my honor to welcome you to the family of legends into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. all yours.
Eric, thank you very much. You said a lot of nice things. I hope half of them are true. And Freddie, I promise I won't say anything about the Allman Brothers, not a word. As Eric said, I tried to retire. I actually did. I walked on the beach in Sarasota, Florida for a year and a half. Most depressed I've ever been in my life. I was calling my son Carson he said 5 times a day. I thought it was only 1 or 2. He said, no, Dad, you call me 5 times a day. I said, well, I got to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to do something. Let's build a distillery. Now, neither one of us knew much about a distillery. He might have known a lot more than I did. I knew nothing. But I knew we had a history in a distilling business years ago. My great-grandfather, Henry Craver, started the company in 1889 with Peerless. Pure, clean, the best of the best with no peers. His DSP number was number 50. So I was thinking, you know, if I want to be successful in this thing, I have got to have that name Peerless, and I've got to have the DSP number 50. Took me about a year to get the DSP number. Took me 2 years to get the DSP number 50 and a year to get the name Peerless. So we're honored to have that. Then we didn't know what we were going to do. Carson was a builder, got an old building down on 10th Street, renovated it. We started making bourbon, or we didn't start making bourbon, after Carson, not me, built the distillery. Then we said, well, we better go get a still. Of course, we knew where we were going to get a still. Same place everybody in this room, I think, gets a still, from Vendome. So Carson and I said, let's go down to Vendome. We hadn't been there yet. Didn't know anybody down there. So we walked in and we said, we'd like to order a still. And he said, we have any, you know what size, you know what you want? Don't have a clue. Don't know anything about it. And so Rob Sherman came out. He said, well, come on back here and talk to us. I said, all right. So Carson and I went back in his office. He said, well, now where are you from? I said, well, we're from Henderson, Kentucky originally. What name? I said, well, Henry Craver was my great-grandfather. He said, wait a minute. He said, I'll be back in just a minute. So he walked out, got his father, his uncle, his cousin, his sister, and his other. There were 6 of them. So after about 5 minutes, he walks in the room. He says, you're not going to believe this, but it was your great-grandfather that helped put our great-grandfather in business. In 1917, my great-grandfather realized, or World War I came along, realized that he had to quit. He had to shut the distillery down, so he sold his equipment to United Distillery in Vancouver, British Columbia. And he had to get what he thought was the best welder of copper in this whole part of the country. So he got a hold of Mr. Sherman. He says, I want you to bring your wife and kids to Henderson. I've got a home on Main Street. You're going to come. You're going to stay about 6 months in Henderson. Put them on 17 train cars, take them up to Vancouver. Take your wife and family up there and put them back together. You're going to be gone not quite a year and a half, but maybe. And that's what he did. When he came back to Louisville, and that's when he finished starting Vendo. So we had a little something to do with that. So he said, your great-grandfather helped us put that in business. And I'm honored. We're honored to have that. We have a big picture of Vendo, Mr. Sherman, and 2 of his sons in our still room. So that didn't help me learn anything about making whiskey, though, or bourbon. I said, well, now what do I need? He said, well, you need a still, fermentation tanks, doubler. I said, okay, whatever, let's get it. So we got it. We had a learning curve. One thing about the bourbon industry, unlike any business that I've ever been in, and I've been in a few. These are the best people that I've ever met. I don't care who I called, who I talked to about helping me to get into the bourbon industry. Everybody helped me. I had people coming in from Bardstown, some retired distillers. They came over and spent a year with me, and they helped us get in business. So it was really kind of neat that you have a business. I was in the financial services business for about 25 years. I won't tell you a word about that, but they just say it's not like the distilling business. And it's amazing when I came to this today, how many people I know, and actually how many people I like that are in this room. So, and Wally, by the way, you have a beautiful distillery here. I've really enjoyed it. So we've had some luck with our distillery. We've only been distilling now for 9 years. We made our first barrel of bourbon March the 4th of 15. So I thought in my mind it would be ready March 15th of 19. We didn't know if it was or not. But my father was never in the distilling business. So I wanted to honor my father. So we waited another 4 or 5 months for his birthday, and then we came out with our bourbon on his birthday. It's the best thing I've ever done. We skipped that generation. For those of you who've ever seen the movie Patton, the man who was right with General Patton in real life was my dad. I own General Patton's gun, and we get Army generals that come in there all the time. All they want to do is touch the gun. My dad owned it for 30 years. As of last Saturday, I've owned it for 49 years. My sons will own it, my grandsons will own it. So we're still new in the business. We're trying to get better every day. Hopefully we are going to get better every day. And we love what we're doing, and we're happy to be here. One thing I'd like to ask my family, or I'll introduce my family. My wife of 54 years. We don't have our kids together very much. I have 2 that live in California, and their spouses came in. Of course, Carson and his wife. My key employees that are here that I love, and my 3 best friends in the world are here. So we try to do it right. I followed a guideline. My father passed away 49 years ago Saturday, and the only time you could talk to him is after he had about 3 bourbon and sodas on a Friday night. So I knew to go talk to him on a Friday night. And he sat down, he says, "You ever want to get in business for yourself?" I was 25 years old. I said, "Yeah, I'd like to get in business for myself someday." And he said, "Well, there's only one word you've got to follow. And if you follow this, you're going to be successful. And that's respect." He said, "You respect people, you talk to them, you look them in the eye, and you thank them for doing business with you." And I think I followed that. I know I followed it in the financial services business, and I really follow it in the bourbon industry. My father said, what you do is, whenever you go to work, I don't care how big you are or how small you are, you go in there and you say hello to every employee that works with you. I don't care what they do, you say hello to them. And then everybody you do business with, you thank them, tell them how much you appreciate them coming into your distillery. And the same thing happens when I go to bars. Of course, I tip the bartender pretty darn good, but and I buy everybody at the bar a drink. That doesn't hurt anything. They will drink bourbon. But my favorite thing to do in the bourbon industry is I like to walk in liquor stores that have our product, pull a bottle off the shelf, sign it, Corky Taylor 4th, meaning the 4th generation. That's my way of thanking people for actually buying a bottle of Peerless. And we're trying to do it right, and I'll buy a few bottles while I'm in there for people that are looking at bourbon and don't know what they're looking at. So I try to do it right. I'm focused on it, and I really appreciate being here. Eric, where you are, but anyway, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the KDA, and thank you for the 14 people that voted for me to be up here. I don't know who you are, but thank you. There you go. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Here, I'll help you down here, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Corky, and congratulations. As you can see, I have a soft spot in my heart for Henderson. And I called out Mr. Ladd, but Mr. Dipplewolf and Mr. Hopper are also back there. I probably carry out their groceries 100 times at my dad's grocery store at Dixie Mart. So thank you, gentlemen. I feel like a kid again here today. And it's amazing the little coincidences in life. When you dig into Corky's history and the history of Peerless, his great-grandfather, Henry Craver, actually was in New York City. He was an immigrant from Poland, and he decided to jump on a riverboat and take it as long as his money would last. And as chance would have it, Henderson, Kentucky was where he ran out of money, and he got off the riverboat there penniless, and within 2 years he was a successful businessman. So that's the start of Peerless Distillery. An amazing story. So thank you, Corky. All right. Our final inductee is this year's recipient of the prestigious Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award. The KDA created the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2015 to honor Parker, and he was its first recipient. Other recipients have been Jimmy Russell, Bill Samuels Jr., Max Shapira, Evan Coulsveen, and the late Steve Thompson. Parker joined Heaven Hill in 1960 as a sixth-generation distiller in his storied family. He became master distiller in 1975 and earned numerous awards for distilling, aging, and selecting some of the world's most acclaimed bourbons. He was named Master Distiller Emeritus in 2013, shortly after being diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. Parker's public advocacy for ALS research, care, and awareness has generated millions for his Promise of Hope Fund. We unfortunately lost Parker in 2017 at the age of 75, but his legacy lives on through his whiskey and this Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award. So please, let's applaud Parker and thank him and his family for all they've done for the industry. This year's recipient for the Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award is no stranger to anyone in this room. A prolific and consistent maximum donor to the KDA's Bourbon Trail Pack. Let's say that again. A prolific and consistent donor, maximum donor to the KDA's Bourbon Trail Pack. You might be surprised to learn that Ken Lewis' original career path was being an English teacher after graduating with highest honors in English at the University of Michigan and earning a master's teaching certificate at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. In fact, Ken was teaching high school in Detroit when his father asked him to come home to Louisville and turn around a small liquor store. The rest, as they say, is history. Ken went on to build the Party Source Megastore, the first of its kind in the country. He championed efforts for Sunday sales and initiated litigation that allowed retailers to use credit cards for sales. Learning the industry from the bottom up, Ken brought innovation and entrepreneurship as the founder of New Riff Distilling in Northern Kentucky, paving the way for the craft bourbon boom that now counts dozens of Kentucky distilleries. This ought to be a treat. Please welcome Fred Joseph, retired partner at Stites and Harbison, who has known Ken since Ken was 7 years old, to introduce Ken Lewis, retired CEO, operating owner, and co-founder of New Riff Distilling.
I've known Ken for more than 65 years in at least 10 capacities. He was the pesky little brother of a woman who I dated for 8 years and to whose friend I've been married for 65 years. He was a tenderfoot scout when I was a senior patrol leader. He was a camper in Wisconsin when I was a counselor. He was my business partner at the Party Source. He was my wife's boss when she was the wine buyer at the Party Source. He was my client for more than 50 years, during which time as his attorney, we worked together on some very successful and too many unsuccessful business propositions. It's important to say and to note very clearly that Ken was the same in a winning proposition as a losing proposition. He was the adjoining property owner when the two of us owned farms in Shelby County. He and Nalley were in Indian Princess with my daughter. He was a recipient of numerous referrals from business professionals with whom, all of whom gave me the same response: what a joy it is to deal with him. It's safe to say after all that time and all these interactions, I know him pretty well. I can assure you that the Ken Lewis that you see is the Ken Lewis you get. The Ken Lewis you see is the Ken Lewis you get. Each of you have known him in capacities other than that I've mentioned, but I'm sure we share the same observations. He is exceptionally intelligent, graduating from the University of Michigan with high honors and a master's degree from Harvard don't begin to reflect how bright he is. The trait that distinguishes Ken, however, is not his intelligence. A lot of folks are very intelligent. Ken combines that with down-to-earth understanding and real savvy. He's creative. He established the Party Source chain, in which capacity he was Retailer of the Year by both Market Watch and Beverage Media, as well as having been selected by his peers as Wine and Spirits Guild President. He's incredibly hardworking and willing to do any job. I recall when the first liquor outlet store was opening, it was Ken on the floor, the hands and knees, removing tiles from an old grocery store. He's fascinated by any business challenge, lobbying for Sunday liquor sales and initiating a court challenge and to allow credit cards to be used for liquor were illustrative of this trait. He's not afraid to make a mistake and to take corrective actions. Thankfully, several of Ken's initiatives have had very short lives. He treats with dignity and respect not only his employees and customers, but everyone with whom he comes into contact. His concern for his employees is manifest by the fact when he sold the Party Source to create New Riff, he sold the business to his employees rather than to the highest bidder. He is modest and reticent in talking about his success. Last but surely not least, he is a man of his word. It is those traits which have made him the basis for these well-deserved honors. For those of you who are sufficiently pedantic or bored to count the 10 capacities by which I was related to Ken, you'll notice that I only mentioned 9, saving the most important for last. Ken is my longtime, dear, dear friend. It's a privilege to introduce you to Ken Lewis.
Stay here for a photo. You might have to help me carry this one. Look how Congratulations, sir. Yes, picture here. If you get in the middle. Oh, my God. Look how big this thing is. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred. Ooh, seems high. Well, I got the award. Do I have to say something? I guess I do. That's very humbling. The Parker Beam, the Lifetime Achievement Award. Very humbling indeed. Thank you to everyone who has made this happen for me today, and all the other inductees. I appreciate the KDA. It's an outstanding organization. Eric, you're a fantastic executive director. I've enjoyed working with you to date and going to do more next year and the years after. You're a very bright guy. I think you know that, and apologies to Jack and to Adam and Eric, but the people that are actually running your organization are the women of the KDA, and they do a great job. Fred, thank you for that lovely introduction. You never said any of that stuff to me before in 65 years. Yeah, I've known him that long. Certainly a friend, a fantastic attorney at Stites and Harbison in Louisville, a mentor, an advisor, and the usual advice was, Ken, are you sure you want to do that? Because I failed many times along the way and dragged Fred into many of those things. Always my wingman through good times and bad, and I appreciate it very much, Fred. And in addition, I want to thank Ann Joseph. Fred is her husband, and Ann was my wine buyer early on in Louisville at the first liquor outlet in Shively, Kentucky, and is the person responsible, in my opinion, for bringing fine wine sales into Kentucky, where they used to say, you can't sell any decent wine. We don't even want to talk to you, Ann. But they did, and we did sell some good wine. Thank you, Ann, for all you've done for our industry as well. Of course, I'm thrilled and so appreciative to have been selected to be a member of the Hall of Fame, and of course, the Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award. This will certainly go down as one of the best days of my life. I'm particularly appreciative of a 50-year career in an industry that I love, the beverage alcohol industry. First as a retailer for many decades, and then later and now as a distillery owner. It really is humbling, and when I think about those other names who have received the Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award, I'm really not sure I belong in that list, and am humbled by the award. Thank you. I will say about that the highest praise that a person can receive is the approval and respect of folks in your own industry. So thank you, all these industry people. So 50 years, I'm a very forward-looking strategic person, but today only it's certainly a very retrospective day. When I think back on that 50-year career, first of all, I think how privileged I am to have been part of this great industry we all share. I actually, at the heart of the bourbon and or the beverage alcohol business, at its best, is really all about sharing, in my opinion. Sharing a bottle of wine, sharing a bottle of bourbon with family, friends, sharing with food, telling stories, eliciting laughter, sharing the ups and downs of sports and the ups and downs of our lives. And sharing is what I tried to do when, after other stores, a liquor outlet, Ken's Liquor, brilliantly named, that I started at in the West End of Louisville. I came to start the Party Source, and sharing is what I tried to do with the Party Source. Sharing my belief that beverage alcohol should be shared with customers, sold to customers, in the same context it should be consumed. A healthy celebration of family and friendship, bright, friendly, upbeat stores filled with gourmet foods, party goods, and the beverage alcohol that so often accompanies the happiest moments of our lives. At the time, and a lot of us are industry vets, going back 30, 40 years, you knew that the stores that beverage alcohol was sold in sort of communicated a sin sensibility. Places that women, I know in the control states like Ohio, I'm not always sure that women were very comfortable walking into some of those stores. So I wanted to flip that message and sell beverage alcohol in the healthy context that we all hope it is consumed. When it came time, and the party source happily was successful, when it came time to switch, migrate career a little bit and get into the distilling business, I was a little bored. Retailing was very hard. I had done it for decades. If you do it well, you do it night and day and every holiday, and a little burned out. I was excited. Jay Erisman and I, my colleague, saw the bourbon boom happening in front of our eyes, of course, at the party source in northern Kentucky. And we thought that there was a real opportunity. There were no distilleries in greater Cincinnati at the time. And look, it's a community that's 2-3 times bigger than Louisville or certainly Lexington. Surely a distillery, and it has a long history, a very proud history in Cincinnati of distilling, or maybe sometimes rectifying, but be that as it may, of alcohol. And when we decided to go into this, due to licensing, the 3-tier system, it was clear I would have to divest the party source for licensing. And I was thrilled, truly, to share the success of the party source by selling it to the employees and not examining the possibility of selling to a much higher bidder, because I just felt the employees had earned it. It was their success a lot more than it had been mine. I may have had the idea, but they executed it day after day very ably. And I'm proud to say the party source has continued to be a marvelous success. There's a couple representatives here today. Thank you, Heather and John, for being here. And it thrives. They paid me back early. After the party source, as I say, the distilling, give it a shot. And we started New Riff. It was pretty audacious what we were doing. To put and the way I knew to do it, not knowing anything about distilling, was to put together an amazing team of smart and visionary, hardworking people together. And for that group, I said, let's have an audacious goal of together creating a great small distillery of the world. And we know we're not there. It's like, free crab tomorrow, at Joe's Crab Shack. It's always tomorrow. We'll always be striving to be a great small distillery of the world. And there's no one, the Queen's not going to come and anoint us and say, your time has come. So for decades and decades, and I hope generations on, we'll keep trying and striving to be a great small distillery of the world. But nonetheless, an audacious goal. A little bit like the poor greyhound, with the carrot, and the rabbit always in front of it, going around and around a track. And we'll keep doing it for decades. That's what we're built to do. And by the way, while we're trying to become a great small distillery of the world, and this is why I've never had any partners, we'll eschew maximum profitability. And we'll go in favor of maximum quality. Because actually we believe, and the whole team at New Riff believes, that you can't have maximum profitability and maximum quality in the same business. You may disagree, but that's what we believe. We'll keep working to build that great small whiskey distillery. And where did we decide to put it? Well, right there with the party source. In northern Kentucky, there were no distilleries. And northern Kentucky, I'm going to say, was not on the Bourbon Trail and not part of the Bourbon lexicon. And it was part of our goal to make that, to effectuate a change in that, and to put northern Kentucky on that map. So, in addition, as if all of that to be a great small distillery and to transform northern Kentucky into having a real bourbon identity along with the rest of Kentucky, and if that wasn't enough, our goal was to work tirelessly to create a workplace culture that we thought would be fairly different, a place that was preeminently about respect, about decency, about kindness, and acceptance of all peoples, all lifestyles. And we'll share those dreams with our Northern Kentucky community as we continue to work to put it on the map. So building that workplace culture was almost as important as creating great whiskey. So, the end of that story, and it's not the end, I shouldn't say that, it's simply a milestone, is the cherry on top of the Manhattan, so to speak, is all those dreams that I've just enunciated that are in progress and will never fully utilize, thank goodness, will somehow was somehow become imbued, and I think it has, in our whiskey itself. So that's our story. That's what we've been trying to do. And I want to thank everyone from Northern Kentucky and my family. My children are here, Fred and Ann. My wife, who keeps things on the up and up for me at all times and shares everything with me. So at this point, I'd like to close. And I'd like to just say that what, to me, as I think about being the humbling current recipient of the Parker Beam Lifetime Achievement Award and becoming a member of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, the statement, the expression that has always been part of my life and I've tried to live up to and is differentiated, I think, in some ways and certainly animated my life. I'd like in closing just to share that expression. It'll mean something particularly to Fred. We've shared it our whole lives together. All that you send into the lives of others will come back into your own. One more time I'll say it because it means so much to me. All that you send into the lives of others will come back into your own. Thank you for all you've put back into my life very much. Thank you.
You can keep it up here if you want to.
No.
You're taking it.
I've been working out. I think I can do it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ken, not only do you belong with that group of Lifetime Achievement Award members, remember, they voted for you on this, and next year you'll be part of the group, right, Bill and them, that's actually approving and selecting the Hall of Fame members. So just wonderful for Ken. And turnabout's fair play. Ken, you're like me. You also recognize that the women are doing the work there. Molly and Hannah, please stand up so we can say thanks to you. And thank you for your support of the KDA. Truly, both of you, thank you. And as I said before, if you hang out with us bourbon folks long enough, there's going to be another toast. So to properly celebrate the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame class of 2024, please welcome Stacey Phelps, President of the Bardstown-Nelson County Tourist Commission, to the stage to lead us in our signature toast from the Bardstown Collection. Welcome, Stacey.
Today, as we gather in the spirit of Kentucky's proud heritage, where the art of distilling has been passed down and perfected through the generations and cherished around the world. Today is not just a tribute to the amber liquid that fills our glasses, but to the passion, craftsmanship, and stories that each bottle carries. Bourbon is more than just a drink. It is a symbol of our state's rich culture, resilience, and pursuit of excellence. It represents the hard work of those who have dedicated their lives to perfecting every batch, the traditions that bind us together, and the innovative spirit that continues to drive us forward. Today, as we honor those who have made extraordinary contributions to the bourbon industry, let us raise our glasses, not just to them, but to the legacy they leave behind and the bright futures they inspire. Here's to the pioneers, the innovators, and the storytellers of Kentucky's most cherished craft. May we continue to savor the spirit of bourbon with every sip, and may the bonds we share grow stronger with every toast. To Kentucky, to bourbon, and to the Hall of Fame, cheers.
Cheers. Well done. Cheers.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you, Stacey. And please remember, these are our official Master Distiller tasting glasses, and they're Hall of Fame commemoratives. So take those home with you and enjoy your next bourbon with those. Freddie, when did you sneak in? Freddie Johnson. We love you, Freddie. How's it going? All right. Thank you, Stacey. Listen, that about wraps up everything that we've got here today, and we got you out in plenty of time. Don't forget the bar back there. Again, I've seen very few people take advantage of those great bottles on the bar. Please go enjoy another drink or sip at the bar. There are some fantastic expressions back there. To all of our Hall of Fame members, remember, please come up here to the stage so we can get a new photo. That's all of the existing Hall of Fames and all the ones that were inducted today. Thank you again to the KDA staff, Adam, Mandy, Colleen, Marielle, Sarah, Jack, Allison, Annie, who's not with us. Please, thank you all for all your hard work, for everything that you do for us at KDA. And again, to the mansion at Log Still Distillery. It's open here for guests to experience, located behind the Legacy. And again, thank you to Wally and Charlie and y'all's great team here at Log Still. That's it for us. We'll have the photo up here in a minute, but please, y'all have a great Kentucky Bourbon Festival week. Please remember, next Tuesday, Worldwide Toast to Kentucky Bourbon for Bourbon Heritage Month. And please drive safely and enjoy bourbon like a true Kentuckian responsibly. Thank you all so much for coming today.